Many people waste their energy fighting enemies they can see. But today I will share a secret with you. You do not need to raise a hand in any battle. There is a spiritual weapon already waiting in your kitchen. It is something so simple that most people do not even see it. Yet in the spiritual world, it shakes the camp of the wicked and makes your enemies beg for mercy. That weapon is salt, not just something for food, but as a divine sign of preservation, purity, and covenant. You see, the error many make is to believe that the battles of life are fought with words, fists, and payback. But the real truth is this: life is a spiritual matter, and battles are won by knowing spiritual laws. When you fight using your own power, you end up tired, angry, and beaten. But when you let God fight through his symbols, you stay calm while your enemies run away in confusion. Salt is one of those heavenly symbols that the enemy is afraid of. Salt has always stood for preservation. When you sprinkle it with faith, you are not just throwing grains on the floor, you are setting up a wall that evil spirits cannot pass. The wicked may come together against you, but when the covenant of salt speaks, their own weapons work against them. It is a quiet act, but in the spirit, it is a loud thunder that breaks their foundation. So picture this. Instead of planning revenge against those who hurt you, instead of losing time weeping over betrayals, you get up at midnight, take simple salt in your hand and say with authority, by this covenant of salt, I reject every curse. I stop every evil. I send back every wicked arrow to the sender. Do you know what takes place? The same people who planned your fall begin to trip over their own traps. Enemies win when you fight them in the flesh because that is where they are strong. But when you use spiritual plans like salt, you are taking the fight into the realm of God's authority. That is why the instruction is easy. Never fight your enemies. Just use salt and see them cry for mercy. They will not know why everything they try against you does not work, why their curses become blessings in your life, and why their meetings fall apart into nothing. Salt has no respect for witches, for demons, or for curses. Once it is dedicated in prayer and spoken as a weapon of light, it changes the air around you. Darkness hates purity, and salt is purity you can touch. That is why witches cannot bear it when a child of God seals their home with salt. They see it as a wall of fire, a shield that stops them from entering. This is why you must listen carefully. The weapon you need is already in your hands. You do not need to buy charms. You do not need to beg anyone for help. You do not need to pay thousands for strange rituals. With faith, prayer, and salt, your home can become a place no one can touch. Your life can be kept safe, and your enemies will have no option but to give up and cry for mercy. When we talk about salt, most people think it is only for cooking, but in the spirit, it is much more. Salt carries the mystery of covenant. In old times, when two people made a covenant, they would share salt as a sign that their agreement could not be broken. In the same way, when you use salt with faith in God, you are standing on a covenant of protection that cannot be broken by witchcraft, envy, or evil eyes. It is a spiritual shield that cannot be broken. Salt also means preservation. Just as it stops food from going bad, it stops your life from being destroyed by enemies. The enemy may have set traps for your job, your health, or your family. But when you use salt in a spiritual way, it stops the decay of your destiny. Every plan made to spoil your name, destroy your progress, or ruin your chances is made powerless. Salt says, you shall not rot, you shall not be wasted. Your blessings are kept safe. Another mystery of salt is that it makes things pure. It is used to clean water, clean wounds, and even clean the air. That is why when you sprinkle salt in your house after prayer, you are not just scattering grains. You are cleaning your surroundings in the spirit. The hidden demons that hide in dark corners cannot stand that purity. It drives them out and makes your home a place of peace. Enemies who once could get in suddenly find their way blocked. Salt also speaks of value. In the past, it was so valuable that people used it as money. In the spirit, this means when you use salt with purpose, you are saying you have value in the eyes of God and man. Enemies who try to make you small, insult you, or treat you as nothing will suddenly be forced to see your worth. They will bow in shame as your life rises in glory, because salt lifts your spiritual value to a place where it cannot be walked upon. Now, why does salt trouble your enemies so much? Because they depend on corruption, decay, and dirt to live. Witchcraft feeds on filth. Evil spirits live in unclean places. Curses grow where there is weakness. But when salt comes into the air, all these things are made powerless. The power is cut off at the source. It is like pouring light into darkness. The darkness cannot argue. It must run. Let me be clear. You do not need difficult rituals to see things happen. Take salt in your hand. Say your words with authority and sprinkle it with faith. It is not about how much salt you use, but about the authority of your words. Even a little salt in the right place, spoken over with the right words, becomes a sword in the spirit that cuts down your enemies without you raising a finger against them. Enemies will wonder why they suddenly cannot reach your life. They will sit together, make plans against you, but every plan fails. Their curses will go back to their own homes. Their jealousy will burn them from inside, and their wickedness will become confusion. Why? Because salt has made a divine wall around you, and God himself honors the covenant of salt. This is why you must never look down on what seems small. The devil is scared of small, powerful symbols that God uses to confuse the wise. Just like David used a stone to bring down Goliath, you can use salt to bring down the giants of witchcraft and oppression in your life. The world may laugh at you for using something so simple, but the same people will be amazed when they see your enemies begging for mercy while you stand safe and victorious. One of the most powerful ways to use salt in a spiritual way is at your doorway. The doorway is not just a physical way into your home, it is a spiritual gate. Many attacks come through gates, whether the front door of your house, the gate of your compound, or even the unseen gates of your life. When you sprinkle salt across your doorway after prayer, you are saying that no evil spirit, no curse, and no enemy can come through. The moment they try, they are hit by the covenant of preservation and their feet stumble before they can even enter. Think about it. How many times have you welcomed people into your home only to see bad luck, arguments, or strange sickness follow? Sometimes it is not the person themselves, but the spirit behind them. That is why sealing your doorway with salt is a direct message to the spiritual world. This house is off limits. No curse shall enter here. No witchcraft shall cross this line. It is a small act, but in the spirit, it is like building a wall of fire around your home. Another practical use is in the corners of your house. Evil spirits love to hide in corners, dark spaces, and forgotten areas. That is why arguments start in homes. Children act difficult, or strange shadows are seen at night. But when you take salt and sprinkle it with prayer in the corners of your home, you are cleaning the hiding spots of demons in the spirit. They will have no place to rest in your house and they will run. The peace that comes after will surprise you, because suddenly your home will carry the smell of divine purity. Salt can also be used in water for cleaning. When you dissolve salt in a basin of water and pray over it, that water becomes a spiritual cleanser. Wash your hands, your face. Or even sprinkle the water lightly around your room, and you are saying purification over your body and your space. Every curse of delay, every spirit of rejection, and every chain of stagnation is broken when you clean with salt. You begin to see doors of opportunity opening because your aura has been made pure. There is also the use of salt in prayer circles. Take a handful of salt, draw a circle around your prayer spot, and say that as you pray, no evil spirit may cross that line. You will feel a new strength in your prayers because you have set up a barrier that stops distractions and demonic interference. In that circle, your prayer becomes fire and your words rise up without anything stopping them. The enemy has no choice but to pull back, for the purity of salt chokes their influence. Enemies who once had easy entry to your life will suddenly feel shut out. They may try to send spiritual arrows in your direction, But the moment those arrows meet the wall of salt, they bounce back to the sender. That is why many who practice witchcraft end up crying for mercy when believers use salt, because the curses they sent come back stronger, leaving them confused and seen. And let me remind you, this is not superstition. This is spiritual wisdom. God always uses simple things to bring down complex powers. Just like he used the staff of Moses to divide the Red Sea, salt in your hands becomes more than just grains. It becomes a spiritual divider, separating you from evil and separating evil from you. It is a covenant tool that silences the noise of your enemies and brings back peace to your household. Witchcraft works in secret, growing in shadows and feeding on fear. But salt shows it and destroys it at once. When a witch sends an arrow against you, they expect to find an open door, a weak place to use. But when you have used salt with prayer, every door is closed. Their arrows hit a wall and go back to them with full force. That is why salt makes witches cry for mercy, because they are hit by the same curses they meant for you. What was meant to destroy you becomes their own ruin. There are many stories of people who fought endless oppression until they found the covenant of salt. Bad dreams ended. Money problems were solved. Strange sicknesses went away simply because they sealed their homes with salt in prayer. The enemy hates purity and preservation, and salt carries both. It makes a line that cannot be seen, that the wicked cannot cross. And if they try, they fall into their own traps. This is why the Bible itself calls believers the salt of the earth. Salt carries authority in both the physical and spiritual world. Sealing your home with salt is one of the most effective weapons of spiritual warfare. You do not need to yell or fight. Simply walk around your home at midnight. Sprinkle salt at the doors, windows, and gates and say, this home is sealed in the covenant of salt. No curse, no witchcraft, no demon shall pass here. As you do this, you are drawing an unbreakable circle of preservation. Evil forces will see your house shining in the spirit, and they will turn away in fear. Curses also cannot stand against salt. A curse grows on impurity and decay, but salt stops it. When someone speaks a curse against you, sprinkle salt in your hands and say, this curse has no power. I am preserved. Wash your hands with salty water and you will feel a weight lifting off you. That curse has no place in your destiny. Instead of carrying loads spoken by others, you carry blessings kept safe by God's covenant. Salt can also be poured at crossroads or paths where you feel spiritual weight. Many witches work by placing spiritual traps in such places. But when you pour salt there with prayer, you break their networks. Their altars fall because the purity of salt confuses their spells. They will gather to renew their magic, but find their power gone. It is not you who fought them. It is the covenant of salt that fought for you. Salt breaks family curses as well. Families that suffer repeated patterns of poverty, sickness, or early death can rise by using salt in prayer. When you stand with salt and say every cycle of destruction ends here, you are marking the end of that pattern. The curse cannot pass the covenant line of salt. From that moment, your family line begins to walk in freedom, and enemies who force those curses begin to lose their hold and cry for mercy. And let me tell you, enemies do not cry for mercy because you raise your hand against them. They cry because the spiritual law has turned against them. Salt is not revenge. It is justice. It sends back every arrow, every curse, every wicked plan back to where it started. When the wicked taste the fruit of their own actions, they are forced to give up, confess, and admit that you cannot be touched. Many people make the mistake of thinking that salt alone has power. But the truth is deeper. Salt is only a symbol, a physical point of contact that carries meaning in the spiritual world. Without faith, it is just seasoning. But when you speak words of authority over it, that salt changes into a weapon of light that heaven knows and darkness fears. It is not about superstition. It is about waking up to the truth that God uses simple things to confuse the wise. When you take salt into your hands and pray, You are not just holding grains, you are holding a covenant. You are saying, my life is preserved, my destiny is pure, my family is sealed. This understanding is what makes the act powerful. Demons do not run because they see salt. They run because of the faith-filled words spoken through it. That is why some people use salt and see nothing, while others use it and see instant breakthroughs. The difference is awakening, knowing the authority behind what you do. This is where thinking is key. Ask yourself, am I still fighting enemies I can see? Am I wasting strength on arguments, anger, and payback? Or have I risen to understand that my battles are spiritual and must be fought with spiritual weapons? Salt wakes you up to that truth. It changes your view from fighting people to facing the real enemy behind the scenes. It opens your eyes to see that your victory does not come from your hands, but from God's covenant. You begin to notice a peace that others cannot explain. People may ask, why don't you fight back? Why don't you curse those who curse you? But your answer becomes simple. I do not need to fight. My covenant fights for me. This is the awakening. Salt brings the confidence that your life is sealed, that you cannot be touched, and that no matter who comes against you, they will scatter. It is a maturity that lifts you above small battles and sets you on a higher level of victory. Salt also teaches humility. Imagine holding something so common, so cheap, yet so powerful in the spirit. It reminds you that God does not need big things to bring freedom. He can use the ordinary to create amazing results. That is why you must never hate small things. Your awakening comes when you see that the greatest battles of your life can be won with the smallest tools, as long as God's hand is on them. As you wake up to this truth, you will begin to see salt as a daily reminder of who you are. You are preserved, you are pure, you are valuable, you cannot be touched. Salt is not just for times of war, it is a picture of your identity. And once you walk in that identity, your enemies sense it. They will try to fight you, but find themselves broken. They will attempt to curse you, but end up blessing you. All because you wake up to the truth that you are salt, and wherever you stand, corruption cannot stay. This is why thinking is so important. It is not about throwing salt without thought. It is about matching your spirit with God's truth, so that when you act with authority. That authority is what makes enemies cry for mercy, because they see they are no longer fighting you. They are fighting the covenant that preserves you. Now that you understand the covenant of salt, it is time to start it. Do not wait until your enemies attack before you move. Take salt in your hand tonight and say your victory. Go to a quiet place, preferably at midnight when spiritual traffic is highest, and hold a handful of salt. Lift it up and pray. By this salt, I say my life is preserved, my home sealed, and my enemies defeated. As those words leave your mouth, the salt in your hand becomes fire in the spirit. Begin by sealing your doorway. Sprinkle salt at the entrance and say, no curse shall cross this line. No witchcraft shall pass here. No demon shall step foot in this home. As you release those words, heaven agrees with them. You are not just speaking into the air. You are speaking into the spirit world, and your salt becomes a line of fire that evil cannot cross. Sleep with confidence, knowing that angels stand guard at your doors. Next, walk to the corners of your home. Sprinkle salt in every hidden place and say, I clean this house of every darkness. I drive out every spirit of fighting, sickness, and fear. This home shall be filled with light, peace, and prosperity. As you say this, the air in your house changes. The heavy feeling you once had lifts. The strange noises stop, and the peace of God rests on you. You can also wash your hands with salty water while saying, every curse of stagnation, rejection, and delay is broken from my life. My hand shall do well. My works shall be blessed, and my destiny shall shine. As the water runs off your hands, picture every chain breaking, every evil link being cut, and every blockage dissolving. You rise with a fresh aura that brings blessings instead of attacks. Finally, raise the last part of salt and make your warfare declaration. Every arrow sent against me return to sender. Every curse spoken over my life backfire. Every witchcraft operation fall apart. Now I am untouchable. My home is preserved and my life is sealed in victory. As you say this, you are starting the back to sender law. Those who plotted your fall will stumble in their own traps, and those who cursed you will taste the fruit of their own words. Enemies will wake up in confusion, wondering why their power no longer works. Some will confess, others will avoid you, and some will cry for mercy because what they sent against you has turned back on them. And you, without raising a hand against them, will walk in peace, preserved by the covenant of salt. This is the power of final activation. Silent but powerful, simple but unstoppable, humble but victorious. Now that you have learned the secret of salt, do not keep it to yourself. The greatest error you can make is to hear wisdom and never use it. Take this step today. Pick up salt from your kitchen. Lift it in prayer and see how God fights for you. You will begin to see strange battles end, hidden enemies show themselves, and curses break like glass. What others have tried to get with endless fights, you will get with a simple act of faith. Do not look down on what seems ordinary. The kingdom of darkness laughs when you fight in the flesh, but they shake when you use spiritual laws. Salt is one of those laws. They know once you start it with authority, their entry is blocked, their arrows are stopped, and their power falls apart. They can only cry for mercy because their plans have turned against them. This is why you must take action, because waiting gives the enemy time, but obedience gives you victory. I challenge you to try this and then come back with your story. Share what you saw after sealing your door with salt, after washing your hands with salt water, after making that midnight declaration. Many will doubt until they hear your story, and your story will open their eyes. When you speak of peace, where there was once mess, of breakthroughs, where there was once delay, of freedom, where there was once bondage, others will see the power of this covenant. Remember, this is not magic and it is not superstition. It is faith. Salt is a symbol, but the real power comes from God. Do not trust in the salt itself. Trust in the God who honors the covenant behind it. As you act, invite his presence, speak his authority, and say his promises. That is what makes the difference. And without him, salt is just seasoning. But with him, it is a sword of victory. So tonight, get up with courage. Take your salt, pray with fire, and see your enemies cry for mercy. And when you see the results, do not keep them to yourself. Share this message with your family, your friends, your community. Spread the light so that others who are oppressed can also find freedom. Let these words become a movement of salt warriors. People who refuse to fight in the flesh, but win every battle in the spirit. Finally, stay connected. Do not just hear and forget. Listen again until it goes deep into your spirit. Pray with it, do it, and share it. Stand with this family of believers who know that the battle belongs to God. Your victory is already sealed. Never fight your enemies. Just use salt this way and watch them cry for mercy. And as you take this step of faith, remember that you are never alone in this journey. You are part of a family that fights battles in the spirit and walks in divine victory. And every story you share becomes a weapon that makes another soul strong. This is Joshua Selman wisdom, where truth is shown, where light shows darkness, and where wisdom wakes up restoration. Many people struggle with the same problems again and again. They pray, they fast, they declare, yet the battle seems to continue. The reason is often that they have not applied the practical symbols that God has given to enforce the victory in the spiritual realm. You see, faith without corresponding action is incomplete. The covenant of salt is one of those powerful actions that completes your faith and seals your victory. It is the physical act that gives substance to your spiritual declarations. Think of the children of Israel. When they were stuck between the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army, God did not just tell them to pray. He told Moses to lift his rod. The prayer was important, but the action of lifting the rod was what activated the miracle. In the same way, your prayers are vital. But when you add the covenant action of salt, you are lifting your rod. You are giving God something to work with. You are demonstrating your faith in a tangible way that the spirit realm understands and must obey. Some may ask, why salt? Why not another substance? Because God has chosen it and invested it with spiritual significance from the beginning. In 2 Kings 2:19-22, the prophet Elisha used salt to purify the bad water of Jericho. He did not just pray over the water. He took salt and threw it into the source, declaring God's healing. The salt was the point of contact for the miracle. Your life may feel like those bad waters, polluted by curses, stagnation, and bitterness. But when you apply the salt with a declaration of faith, you are throwing it into the source of your problem, and God will bring healing and wholeness. Do not wait for a major crisis to use this weapon. Make it a regular part of your spiritual maintenance. Just as you clean your home physically, you must cleanse it spiritually. Just as you take a bath to wash your body, you must cleanse your spirit and your atmosphere. Salt is your spiritual cleanser. Use it to maintain the victory, to maintain the peace, to maintain the purity that God has ordained for your life. A builder does not wait for the entire wall to collapse before he repairs a crack. He maintains it regularly. In the same way, do not wait for a full-scale spiritual attack before you seal your home. You salt regularly to maintain your spiritual walls and keep them strong. Your home should be a sanctuary, a place of refuge where the presence of God dwells unhindered. But if you do not actively cleanse and seal it, it can become a playground for dark forces. They come in through the spiritual doors that are left open, doors of unforgiveness, strife, fear, and sometimes simply through the physical gates that have not been prayerfully sealed. The regular use of salt is like posting a permanent no trespassing sign in the spirit. It tells every demonic entity that this territory is taken. It is covered by the blood of Jesus and sealed by the covenant of salt. They have no legal right to enter. The same applies to your life. You are the temple of the Holy Spirit. You must be sealed and preserved. Just as you take a shower every day, make it a habit to spiritually cleanse yourself. Washing your hands with salt water is not a magical ritual. It is an act of faith that says, I am purifying myself from every spiritual contamination I have encountered in the world. I break every curse I may have picked up through a handshake, through money, or through any form of contact. It is a practical way to walk in purity and protection. For those who are business owners, this principle is especially crucial. Your business, your office, your store, these are extensions of your life and your destiny. There are also targets for enemy attacks. Envy and jealousy can manifest as spiritual attacks against your finances and your customer flow. Go to your place of business. Sprinkle salt at the entrance, at the corners, and around the perimeter. Declare that this business is sealed by the covenant of salt. No curse of failure, no spirit of lack, no witchcraft of customer diversion shall operate here. Command that every transaction in this place shall be blessed, and that this business shall be a place of divine prosperity and favor. If you are a student, seal your hostel room, your books, your study table. Declare that your mind is sharp and your memory is preserved. Break every curse of mental block and failure. If you are a driver, seal your vehicle, sprinkle salt in it, and pray against accidents and evil occurrences. The principle is the same. Wherever God has given you dominion, you must exercise that dominion by using the spiritual tools He has provided. Perhaps you are facing a specific enemy, a person who seems determined to see you fail. The natural impulse is to fight back, to confront, to argue. But I charge you to do the opposite. Do not fight them. Instead, take a small container of salt, go to a quiet place and hold it in your hand. Speak the name of that enemy into the salt. Declare, just as this salt represents preservation and purity, I stand on God's covenant. I return every arrow you have sent to me. I seal my life from your attacks. I command that every plot you devise shall fail, and that you shall taste the fruit of your own wickedness. Then either keep that container sealed in a hidden place as a symbolic barrier, or dispose of it as the Spirit leads you, signifying that you are releasing the situation to God. This is not an act of hatred, but of divine justice. You are using a God-given symbol to enforce the spiritual law that says, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The beauty of this covenant is that it works while you sleep. It works while you go about your daily life in peace. You do not have to be constantly anxious, looking over your shoulder for the next attack. Once you have applied the salt in faith, you can rest knowing that a spiritual guard has been posted. The covenant is working on your behalf 24 hours a day. Your enemies are the ones who will lose sleep. wondering why their powers have failed, why their secrets are exposed, and why their health is failing. The covenant of salt turns the table silently and effectively. This is the wisdom of God, to use the simple things to shame the wise, the weak things to shame the strong. You are not weak because you use salt. You are wise. You are operating in a higher law, a spiritual law that transcends flesh and blood. This is the confidence you can have, that you serve a God who has already provided everything you need for victory and for life. Your part is to believe, to obey, and to apply the weapons he has so graciously given. So from today, let salt become your silent partner in spiritual warfare. Let it be your faithful ally in maintaining your victory. Do not be without it. Keep it in your pocket, in your purse, in your car. Let it be a constant reminder that you are preserved, you are pure, you are valuable, and you are sealed by covenant. And as you do, you will walk in a level of peace and victory that confounds those around you. They will see your calmness in the midst of storms, and they will ask, what is your secret? And you can tell them about the God who fights for his children and the simple covenant he has given them to enforce his will on the earth. This is Joshua Selman wisdom, guiding you into the deep truths of the kingdom and empowering you to live a life of undeniable victory. Perhaps you feel you have tried everything. You have prayed, you have fasted, you have spoken the scriptures, yet the opposition remains. It is in this very place of frustration that God introduces a divine simplicity. The enemy's strategy is to complicate your warfare, to make you feel you need a complex, unattainable solution. But God's strategy is to simplify it, to place the weapon in your kitchen cupboard. The battle is not won by your strength, but by your obedience to use what he has already provided. Consider the authority you carry. When you take that salt, you are not just a person holding a mineral. You are a covenant child of God, administering the terms of your Father's agreement. You are acting as a priest over your own life and your own home. The salt in your hand is like the incense in the priest's censer in the temple. It is a holy instrument, sanctified for a divine purpose. When you sprinkle it, you are not just throwing salt, you are releasing a fragrance of covenant obedience that rises to heaven and commands attention in the spirit realm. There is a powerful lesson in the story of the widow with the pot of oil. Her miracle was locked in the very thing she already owned. The prophet did not give her something new. He told her to use what she had. For her, it was a pot of oil. For you, it is salt. Your deliverance, your preservation, your breakthrough is locked inside the simple, overlooked things God has already placed in your domain. Your act of faith in using it is the key that unlocks the miracle. Do not underestimate the power of your declaration over the salt. Your words are not just sounds, they are spirit and life. They carry creative power. When you speak God's covenant over that salt, you are programming it with a spiritual assignment. You are charging it with a purpose, much like a battery is charged with energy. You are saying you are no longer just seasoning. You are now a weapon of preservation. You are a barrier against evil. You are an agent of purity. And from that moment forward, every grain carries that assigned purpose into the spiritual atmosphere around you. This is also a profound lesson in stewardship. God has given you dominion over your sphere, your home, your body, your family. Using salt is an act of exercising that dominion. It is you taking responsibility for the spiritual climate of your environment. You are saying, I will not be a passive victim of spiritual attacks. I am a proactive steward, and I'm using my God-given authority to establish a territory of light here. This active faith pleases God and triggers his intervention. For those dealing with persistent nightmares or spiritual disturbances in the night, salt can be your specific answer. Place a small bowl of salt near your bedside. Before you sleep, lay your hands on it and pray. By this covenant, I declare that my sleep is sacred. This room is a place of divine rest. Every dream sent to torment me is cancelled. I command peace and angelic protection over this room throughout the night. You will be amazed at the profound peace and undisturbed rest that follows. The salt acts as a constant silent guardian, enforcing your declaration while you sleep. If you are seeking a new job or a new home, take salt with you. Before an interview, pray over a little salt and put it in your pocket. You carry the covenant of favor with you when you are inspecting a new house. If you feel any spiritual heaviness, quietly sprinkle a little salt at the entrance and in the corners as you walk through, silently breaking every past curse and dedicating that space to God. You are not just looking for a house, you are claiming a territory for the kingdom of God. Remember, the goal is not to become superstitious about salt. The goal is to have your faith awaken to the reality of the spiritual weapons God has given you. Salt is a tangible tool that helps your faith to connect with the spiritual realm. It is a bridge between your declaration and its manifestation. It helps you to see in a physical way that you are truly doing something about your spiritual battles. So, let this knowledge change your perspective. From this day forward, see that container of salt in your kitchen not as a mere condiment, but as a vial of spiritual power. It is a symbol of your covenant, a token of your preservation, and a weapon in your arsenal. When you use it, do so with boldness and with the full assurance that you are operating in a divine principle that God himself honors. Walk in this confidence. Speak with this authority. Act with this faith. You are not helpless. You are not powerless. You are armed and dangerous to the kingdom of darkness, using the simple, mighty weapons of God. Let every grain of salt that falls from your hand be a declaration to the spiritual world that you know who you are, you know whose you are, and you know the authority you carry. This is Joshua Selman wisdom, empowering you to live a life of victory, dominion, and undeniable power through the understanding and application of God's eternal truths. There is a profound connection between the physical act of using salt and the spiritual release of your faith. Many believers struggle because their faith remains an internal feeling, never translating into a physical action that gives it substance. When you take salt and apply it according to God's principle, you are creating a point of contact for your faith. You are building an altar, a memorial in the spiritual realm that declares, on this day, I stood on God's covenant and I enforced his word over my situation. This act becomes a landmark in your life that you can always refer back to, a testimony of your obedience and God's faithfulness. Think about the walls of Jericho. The victory did not come from the shouting alone. It came from the walking, the obedience to a seemingly simple instruction day after day. Your consistent use of salt in your home is your walk around your personal Jericho. Every time you sprinkle it, you are completing another lap, weakening the enemy's strongholds and preparing for the final shout of victory. Do not despise the consistency. The power is in the persistent application of the covenant, not in a one-time emotional event. Your home is more than bricks and mortar. It is a spiritual embassy. It is an official outpost of the kingdom of heaven on earth. Just as an earthly embassy flies its flag and is protected by the laws of its home nation, your home flies the banner of Jehovah Nissi and is protected by the laws of heaven. Using salt is like raising that flag and posting the heavenly guard. It is a declaration of extraterritoriality, stating that the laws of darkness, of curses, witchcraft, and demonic intrusion have no jurisdiction here. The soil of your home is holy ground, dedicated to the Most High God. There is also a dimension of spiritual hygiene. Just as you would not live in a physically dirty environment, you must not tolerate a spiritually polluted one. Unseen forces can leave residues of hatred, strife, lust, and fear in the atmosphere of a room. These residues attract more of the same darkness. The prayerful application of salt is like a spiritual disinfectant. It cleanses these residues, breaks the negative spiritual cycles, and creates a vacuum that is filled by the Holy Spirit. You will notice the air feels lighter, your mind feels clearer, and peace becomes a tangible presence. For those praying for a spouse or for the restoration of a marriage, this principle is vital. Salt can be used to seal your relationship and your future. Take 2 pinches of salt and mix them together in a small container. Pray over them, declaring that just as these grains are united and cannot be easily separated, so your union would be preserved, purified, and protected from every divisive spirit, every soul tie from the past, and every attack of infidelity. Keep this container in your bedroom as a covenant symbol. For those believing for a godly spouse, carry this salt with you, declaring that your future marriage is already sealed and preserved in the spirit. If you are a parent, you have a sacred duty to seal the destiny of your children. Their innocence makes them targets for spiritual attacks manifested as fear, sickness, or rebellion. Go into their rooms while they sleep. Sprinkle a line of salt at the doorway and at the windowsill. Lay your hands on their foreheads and declare, this child is preserved for the glory of God. No evil plan against their destiny shall prosper. Their dreams are protected. Their health is secured. And their future is purified by the blood of Jesus and the covenant of salt. You are building a wall of fire around the next generation. In your finances, the principle of preservation is critical. The enemy's goal is to cause your blessings to decay and rot before you can fully enjoy them or use them for God's kingdom. Take your wallet, your purse, your bank statements, and place a small container of salt with them. Pray over them, declaring, my finances are preserved. Every seed I sow is protected from the devourer. My sources of income are purified and blessed. I break every curse of debt, lack, and sudden loss. My money is salted with covenant, and it will fulfill its divine purpose. You are spiritually insulating your economic life from corruption. Never forget that the ultimate power is not in the salt, but in the God of the covenant, whom the salt represents. Your confidence is in his faithfulness, not in the method. The salt is merely the vessel through which your faith in his word is expressed. This keeps you from superstition and anchors you in a true relationship with the living God. He is the preserver of your soul, the purifier of your heart, and the one who has committed to you an everlasting covenant. Therefore, let your life become a testimony of divine preservation. Let people look at you and wonder how you remain unscathed in the midst of chaos. Let them see your home as a haven of peace in a troubled neighborhood. Let them observe your children and marvel at their grace and favor. And when they ask, you can point them to the faithful God who has given his children simple yet powerful keys to live in victory. You are the salt of the earth. And now you understand how to wield that identity with power and purpose. This is Joshua Selman wisdom, guiding you into the deep truths of the kingdom and empowering you to live a life of undeniable victory. A life preserved, purified, and powerful for the glory of God.